This hangout on air is live. No
Yes,
shit.
we're live.
We're back with crappy audio because we can't win this battle. It's either shitty Skype or crappy audio for sound effects. So that's what I gotta say about that.
It's okay. We'll continue. We'll proceed. We'll make it down the runway somehow.
All right, that's it. Are we ready?
Yep. Make it down the runway.
Make it down the runway.
Hey, kitty girls, it's February 26, 2018, and welcome to Cubs Out Loud Drag Race T-Time All-Star Season 3, Episode number 5. I'm Gary, in case you're not familiar with who the hell this person is that's yapping away. But more importantly, with me are my fabulous co-hosts.
Hey, everybody, it's Damon. I'm back again.
I'm Chester.
And we're just going to really kind of jump right into things here because it's getting later and the whole point of this show is not to be up until fucking midnight, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so. All right, first section topic, thoughts on the episode. Chester, why don't you start us off?
So the episode was about the 70s and a tribute to Andy Warhol, specifically they were doing a riff on his Campbell soup prints. And I just want to say that they were a super fail.
Really?
Yes, they all looked bad. Every single one of them. None of them. If Rue had not come out there and said, Andy Warhol is my inspiration and blah, 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 and we're going to do a challenge dedicated to him, I wouldn't have fucking known that was supposed to be Andy Warhol.
Okay, so the fail is not necessarily the cans themselves. It's more along the lines of that it's not really a tribute or whatever to Andy Warhol.
Exactly.
Okay.
It would be the equivalent of them doing their, like, do you remember that challenge where they were to make those boats and walk out on the runway in those boats? It would be similar to that and saying, it's a tribute to the captain of the Love Boat.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can see that. It was
the cans themselves, the cans themselves, what they designed wasn't bad. They were all kitschy and they spoke drag to me. And that was okay. They did not speak Andy Warhol, is what I'm trying to say.
I think the issue for me was the idea behind it was that they were supposed to be branding themselves with these cans. And for some, it worked. For some, it didn't. And for some, it really didn't. And that's just, I'm curious where the fault in that lies. Is it in the, we're telling you to it's Andy Warhol and pop art and Campbell soup thing, and then but we want you to brand it. So is it a confusing challenge or is it a like issue with branding?
That's kind of what I'm getting at. Is they were told that we're doing this challenge with soup cans because it's dedicating to Andy Warhol. But then you look at all the soup cans, and none of them actually look anything like what Andy Warhol would make.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, during their branding, I think everybody did an okay job. Even Aja, where she got red for hers being sweet, and they don't see her as that. I thought that was kind of bad. That, well, maybe she sees herself as that.
Yeah. Well, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think she wanted to emulate something and wasn't necessarily aware of how the world sees her. And there's a difference. So I think she wants to be seen as like, you know, a very nice, sweet kind of, you know, drag. But the reality is that she's, has been said, she's very spicy.
Yep.
So she would have been far better off if she had done like a sriracha soup or something.
Something like sweet and spicy. There's a sweet chili.
Mm.
But I see Aja as being kind of bubblegum in the sense of her aesthetic is very what do they call it? Kawaii.
Yeah.
It's very Japanese pop art with the colors and the shapes that she uses. And I think she did a good job at emulating that. Just the word sweet in there probably is what killed it.
Yeah. And okay, I'm going to go ahead and say it. I have a problem with the idea behind the challenge was it was supposed to be the soup can. And they were like some of the queens like made soup, not soup can, but they actually made like they were talking about their soup. Like this is going to be a soup. Like Aja was like, I'm doing a really sweet like ice cream kind of soup thing, and I'm like, no, you're not really. You're not making a soup. You know,
I nearly died when BB was like, "Oh, but it's a peanut soup and it has spices and garlic," and I'm like watching the episode, going, "No, girl, no. This is not a cooking segment.
Yes.
You're not Julia Child, bitch. Like, no. Like, and then, like, I couldn't get over how like they so misled us in the edit where she was like, "Yeah, it's called a chew," and of course, Shangela's like, "What?" So, and then when she walks the runway, it's Zaza.
Yeah, maybe she changed the name after.
She went literally from A to Z.
Yeah.
The name of the soup from Achu to Zaza. I was like, I don't know how that happened. We missed that part of the edit where she somehow came up with a whole new soup name. But her look on her soup can was so disappointing to me because I was like, oh, that's a lovely muted brownie, reddy, rusty, blobby kind of looking label. Okay.
With Africa.
I don't have a problem with that. It's just compared to the rest, it was very dark. And everybody else is very bright and poppy, like in terms of colors and stuff. So I was like,
well, maybe BB doesn't see herself as bright. Or maybe she's just not bright. Period.
So yeah. Anyways, just that there.
Nice.
No, she just I don't know. That was something. I don't know what it was, but it was something.
Maybe Zahara Benet. You are not bright.
Anything else, Chester? For your thoughts on the episode? Damon?
So I wrote down playing fair, and I kind of want to. It's a general overall kind of theme for the episode for me. There's this whole like they started the competition because obviously last episode Chi left, and everyone was like that was a good. Well, Ben Lacrim was like that was a really good fair decision, and I think we need to make decisions on what we're going to do from now on, and we should always be playing fair. And throughout the competition, you had a few people helping other queens out, which is kind of a way to make things kind of level and stuff like that. I'll get to some of that later. But for me, it's becoming more that people are that the queens are learning from last season where everyone was kind of like the sisterhood bullshit, that now we're definitely not going to be doing that. Like, and I'm liking that queens are kind of telling it like it is. Shangela Kennedy is kind of like, no, we're not, like, that's not what I'm definitely not, I'm going to do that, but I don't think we should do that. I think we should be doing it this way, and are not necessarily doing it this way, but I think you should make the decision for yourself. And I agree with that, because that's part of the problem. I love Ben to death. I love Ben to death, but she's essentially trying to justify why she's letting people go. And I get why you want to do that, but the reality is this is a competition. You're going for a win. You need to stop with this whole like justifying what's going to happen and making sure everyone kind of agrees with it, because guess what? Not everyone's going to agree with it. It's going to end up becoming this whole big thing. And there's going to be some queens that just don't want to do that. And so playing fair is kind of a, I just saw that in this episode. It was not necessarily a quote unquote fair game. Not that that's a bad thing, but just that it overall, we're realizing at this point we're at the 6. You know, we're now kind of heading towards the top. Mm-hmm. So let's start playing the game.
Well, but here's what I'm wondering though, Damon. Like, I hear what you're saying, and I don't disagree with you, but I think Ben de la Creme is having an identity crisis because she's so like sickeningly sweet and nice and perky and upbeat, and competition is not that. And so while her intro like was all about, you know, like, you know, I'm the sweetheart with a heart of gold and a shiv. Like, that's a great delivery line. It looks great to camera. It plays well, but to keep that up 24/7, or at least in terms of when you're Ben de la Creme as opposed to just Ben, I think that's where she's struggling because, no offense, she has a brand and she's trying really hard to consistently stay like true to her character. Mm-hmm. And her character is not a person that necessarily wants to do people wrong. I think she would definitely feel relieved if the queens just off themselves, like they really fucked up, because then it makes it super easy to eliminate someone. But that's a regular season. We're an all-stars where Rue consistently says you are an all-star to every queen as they leave. Like the 10 of you made it into this competition. Well, 9 of you and 1 previous winner. So, you know, you're here and you're kind of, you know, redeeming yourself, redeeming, you know, in this way. So I don't know. Like I'm just sitting here. I'm eating the popcorn girl whenever Kennedy comes up, because Kennedy got something to say. Like, she is a little bit, in my opinion, channeling Jasmine Masters. I think she's just like, you can say all you want, but the truth of it is now, Shangela is annoying the motherfucker out of me, but that's because she keeps going with this whole fucking Game of Thrones thing. And I'm all like,
I'm so tired of that.
I'm kind of done with her.
I am too. Only because, no offense, like, were you on Game of Thrones? Are you trying to like get people to see you in Game of Thrones? Because it's you're pulling things. Granted, I haven't seen the show, don't get me wrong, but I'm still like, you're pulling a lot out of this metaphor that you're making or whatever.
Well, I will say this. I think the reason why Shangela is using Game of Thrones is because of a cutesy play on one word specifically, and it's really getting old and it's tiresome, and it's dragons. You know? Drag uns. Because it's drag race.
I get what you're going with. I got it.
Right. And that's where I'm just like, really, bitch? You consider yourself Daenerys? I don't even watch the show. I know that bitch is in charge of all the dragons. You ain't in charge of these drag-uns. Like, give me a break. So, yeah, no, not so much. So, yeah, I like how you're like playing fair.
Yeah.
It's kind of.
Yeah.
Because I have to say this, I don't think this episode played fair, but that's because someone made it to top 2 and lip synced for their legacy. And I don't think they should have been there for it. But that's because I don't like them being in this competition anyways. So
I'm just a fan.
I'm just,
If There
You
you
mean
go.
This fan?
Yeah.
Yeah, that fan. I'm sorry. I'm not down with this whole thing.
Okay.
And that's what I was irritated about, was this rumor online. And then this episode plays out and she makes it to top 2. And I was like, now hold the phone. Because now I'm wondering how true this rumor thing is, because if it is true, I'm really not liking this episode, because then she shouldn't have made it to top 2. And she shouldn't have won, and she shouldn't have been able to send
someone home.
No, she sent
Aja.
Aja home. She sent Aja home. And here's the thing is, I thought Aja's outfit on the runway was great. Now,
it was beautiful.
I was so happy that she made that. It looked amazing in my opinion. It literally took my breath away. Was her hair great? Like, it could have been better. Her makeup could have been a little bit better. I felt like she was a little rushed in getting ready for runway, and I don't know why. But I was like, wow, like, she looks really well composed. And then she kind of gets red for references. And then, like, I put into the Entourage group, I was like, oh, check out this deleted scene that they posted online. It's quite obvious to me that Rue's already giving her shit about referencing, like, and understanding and knowing your history. And I was like, so my opinion, when they come to judges critiques, Rue's she's still on that race. Do you know what I mean? Like, she's still betting on the same horse that she was in the workroom. And that annoyed the piss out of me. Cause then I was like, really, girl? Like, you kind of already said something about this.
Yeah. And anyway, I really like the look. It was one of the best ones of the runway. And I don't get, I honestly, I got Studio 54 70s from that look. It was, it was dripping. It was bell bottomed. It was well made. And yeah, the hair was a little off, but hair in the 70s was always a little off. And, and it's just like, but like the whole look, I think, went well together.
Yeah.
The hair, I said the hair wasn't great, but it all kind of worked together. And I could have seen someone potentially rocking that kind of fashion look, because it was disco queen couture. Now we know Aja, and she knows fashion. She knows what couture means. So I think that's what she was taking with it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where it went. You wouldn't see, that was very original. The look was very original. And that's what I got from it. And I don't get why the judges didn't. I wonder was Carson on the panel?
Yeah.
I don't think Carson was on the panel. No.
It was Titus.
It was Titus and Shay Mitchell.
They were the guests.
And Ross and Michelle and Rue.
Oh, Carson
wasn't there.
Okay.
I bet if Carson had been I think he would have really loved it. I think he would have gotten what she was going with it. But that's just me.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong. When BB walked out on runway, I was highly impressed.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I was too.
To win over Kennedy, I kind of questioned that. I think Kennedy wasn't considered top 2 because of her soup can. And I didn't understand the critique about how the soup can doesn't represent Kennedy. It's a character. And I was like, right. But like, Kennedy's known for, like, yeah, she's a pageant queen, but she's also known for being funny when she can be funny. And I thought that was funny. So, like, did you want a soup can that's all encompassing?
Yeah. Yeah. Again, I think that's part of the issue with the whole the talent in and of itself.
Right.
Was, yes, they were talking about it being branding, but it was also very like, it's a soup can. So I think that's where I think the confusion came around. Like, people were thinking about it being actual soup.
Yeah,
and And that's where I think the problem kind of came from.
Now, if it was actual soup and Gordon Ramsay had been a guest judge and everybody had to taste your soup, that would have been very interesting to me. Especially if he started swearing and spit your soup out. That would have been high drama and fun. But
yes. Yeah.
All right. Anything else, Damon, about your thoughts on
the
All right.
Your turn.
Well, I'm just going to keep mine brief. I said redemption and hijinks. So redemption for me is the fact that Trixie Mattel got her act back together.
Yes.
I expected her to get red for one very specific thing, and she didn't, which now pisses me off because I call inconsistency shenanigans from the judges' critiques. The only thing was when Trixie came out, like, I got that they were a little, they weren't totally on board, I think, with her soup.
Overall look. Oh.
I think they were like, oh, that's different. But Trixie's different, you know, like, and I think they were accepting of it, but I don't think it was quite what they were expecting from her. It was her runway outfit when she turned around in the pink velour onesie jumpsuit. There was a strip about yay big below the belt where you could see like a white zipper. Because the fabric wasn't giving enough, so it was revealing it. And when she turned around and she had to walk away, I was like, oh shit, here we go. Because that's what I thought the judges were going to bitch about, because the judges in the past have critiqued about when you make your own outfits, about how like your seams don't match and your shit doesn't look right and blah, blah, blah. She ends up, you know, in top 2. And I'm like, oh, okay. So apparently we're willing to forgive that. I don't understand. Yeah. But obviously there's, as Michelle keeps saying, like, we don't see everything that they see. And also, you know, the judges only have to go off what's on front stage, so to speak, except for Rue, because she gets to go in the workroom.
Yeah.
So, and the hijinks is just like, I call shenanigans on a bunch of stuff that's going on, including the BB, Achu, now Zaza. Something happened somewhere in the midst of that. I didn't understand it. I was amused when Shangela came out and she had her hula-loops. Yeah, I was like, okay, that's on brand. It's kind of cute and funny. It's a little overdone, but and so then after taking sewing classes for a couple months and Trixie trying to help her, she couldn't put an outfit together, so she literally comes out in fringe with like fake records hanging off a gold chain.
It was fucking awful.
I was like,
wow. And here's the thing, and I will say this only because I think if she had made the disc on her head smaller and made the disc on her front like here, like a necklace kind of thing, and smaller, I think it would have went over a lot differently. Yeah, it was, you know, hot glued or whatever together. I think it was because and maybe something else on the bottom. I don't know yet. I'm kind of like, as I'm picturing it in my head, I like what she did, but I think it just looked so, I don't want to even say basic. It wasn't even basic. It was just it looked like I had 5 minutes. Let me throw some shit together. And that was my problem with it. It was like, here's these records.
Did only have 5 minutes and threw it together.
Probably.
I mean, it was very drag on a dime.
Yeah. And that was sort of my problem. Like, if he had just a little more time, because a fringy look would have worked in the 70s. That idea behind it with the like, it looked like a 2-piece bikini underneath it. That kind of look, I think, would have worked.
Do you think she was trying to not look like BB?
No, I don't think that was part of it.
Because BB comes out in Mylar fringe.
Yeah. But it was like, and not something to me totally different. I think hers was,
but
so yeah. I'm not trying to defend Shangela's look. I think Shangela's look needed a big old edit, and I just don't think she had the time. It needed an edit. It needed those if you had put those fucking records, taken those fucking records off at all, I think you would have gone a totally different direction. I'm not saying it would have won. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it would have won, but I think shortened that big fucking record or kept the fro and left the record off or something like something, put some like disc on your ear.
It was
You
wrong,
record for hearing.
wrong, and wrong. She just made mistakes. She knew it from the beginning. She decided to hide her face behind the disc, which I still don't know what that's about because I was like, girl, what you got? Like a big old zit on your forehead? Like, what's that about? Because she could have made those discs into 45 records. 45s existed back then. For those of you that are of the younger set and don't understand, vinyl is what we refer to as records, and they came in varying sizes. And 45 RPM was actually a smaller size record, bigger than a CD. So she could have put that up there. She could have made that a choker. She could have made a belt of it. There's a lot of things she could have done, but she didn't. So I feel she was mortally embarrassed to walk out and just tried to make the best of it, knowing every step of the way, I'm going home tonight. And then didn't. So yeah, there's that.
Well, okay. We can I think we can talk about that in a minute.
That's why I was calling hijinks, because I was like,
shenanigans. It's just I think part of my issue. Oh God. The only thing Shangela had going for her was that she's won a few times before.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I think, going into this. Now, it was a huge misstep. Huge misstep. Especially when you compare her look to Aja's look.
Well, if I'm a competitor and I'm trying to figure out who I want to continue on, Shangela to me is a threat. Aja was not as much a threat. Like, Aja has been like killing it most of the season, but I didn't think she had the stamina to make it to the end. That's my personal opinion. So that's where I was like, Shanji, on the other hand, we know has invested some money, invested looks, and all this kind of stuff. And there's probably not too many more personal craft like challenges.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I would have been like, oh, sorry, Daenerys, you got to go. Bye. You got bird no crisp. All right. Are we ready to move on to the next topic?
Yeah.
All right.
The time has come. Lip sync for your legacy. Good luck, and don't fuck it up.
All right, snaps and eye rolls. Chesta.
So my snaps is for all of the overall runway looks, except for Shangela's. I thought everybody looked really great. They all brought a different perspective of 70s looks. However, I do want to say that none of them spoke disco to me, except for maybe BB's. And, well, Shangela's did too, to an extent, which is really bad. But everybody else's, they did speak 70s. And I know that Ben got red for her look. And I'm like, what the hell's wrong with it? She looks like she's from the 70s. Yeah. She looks like a mom pulling out a Jell-O mold from her fridge, waiting for her husband to come home from work and drinking his gin and tonic. That's what it spoke to me.
I honestly thought Kennedy, out of all the runways, was the one that looked the most like someone would have captured a picture of her at Studio 54.
Yeah.
That
hers
to
was
me,
good too.
That to me was the point of the challenge, because they kept talking about the visual and, Bianca, showing up on the white horse and blah, 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 which, by the way, the white horse was a dumbass gag, just in my opinion. I thought it was only one queen. Oh no, all the queens get to come in off of it. And notably, Bendela doesn't have the pit crew helping her.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
I was like, I don't think either.
I was like, what the fuck is up with that? Bendela comes out and she doesn't have boys helping her. Again, hijinks. Something's up. So I was just really kind of like, whatever. But when Kennedy came out, I was like, girl.
Yeah.
Wearing that crushed green velvet velour shit that I used to have shirts made out of when I was living in the 70s as a kid, with the rib collar and the V-neck. That shit. I was like, this part up here on her forehead was a little much. But like the one wing side and all that, I was like, that to me was evoking the most of what I thought. Okay, if this bitch walked into Studio 54, somebody would have probably taken a picture of her.
Yeah.
And it would have been black and white. Nobody would have known what the fuck it was, but you know.
And even Aja, I don't understand why the judges read her for her look. I
know,
thought
right?
she looked wonderful.
Yes.
I thought that looked very 70s.
There was this weird thing about them reading her. I still don't understand. And I was proud of Aja for just owning it and saying, well, I obviously got it wrong. Like, just,
Yeah.
she knew better than to try to talk back and defend. She was just like, well, this is what I thought. And obviously I made a bad choice. It was just like, girl, let it go. Like, now is not the time to make a stand.
Well, maybe if she had, she would still be here.
I don't know.
I don't know. Anyway,
I think she was, if there's any truth to some of the shenanigans stuff, she was supposed to go. Or she wasn't supposed to last this long. That's another theory I have. I think they brought her in and they didn't expect her to do as well as she did up to this point.
So,
and I'm like, funny that kind of backfired in your face. Did it? To take someone from the very last season and immediately throw them into all season or All Stars season 3 and not expect them to pull all this shit out, like these looks and stuff. But
maybe that.
The thing is remember pretty much what a year had gone by from when season 9 recorded. Maybe less than a year from when they recorded until they went to All-Star season 3. And she had already been like, she'd already recorded the show and they started promotions or whatever. You know what I mean? So I think she was like fair game. She knew what she was getting into. And I think that's what a lot of these queens know, except for BB. BB's the only one out of the whole group of 10 so far that has, well, and Morgan. They both were pretty much from the, I don't want to say old school, but the previous generation before all the shit blew up. So everything's very different now. So Chester, your eye rolls.
I have 2, and I finally remember what the first one was. My first one is for, well, they both have to do with her interactions with Aja.
Okay.
The first one being, I'm sure she had it made up in her mind, and I'm going to end up spoiling the rest of the show. I'm pretty certain that she had it in her mind that she was going to get rid of Aja as soon as she had the chance. Because if we remember back in the second episode, I think it was, they were having a discussion and BB was giving her shit then about respecting your elders and knowing where you came from with drag.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So interesting. What's your second reason? Oh, keep going. Keep going. Sorry.
It ties into the fact that she was dead set on getting rid of Aja. The other queens got to sit down and BB asked them why they need to stay or why they thought that they should stay. And the other queens were able to speak their mind. Aja sits down and isn't able to get a word in edgewise. The entire time, BB is giving her a goodbye speech. You're going to do so well, and you're going to continue on, and you know you've come so far to be here.
Yeah, it was when I was listening to that. So I watched the episode, I think 2 or 3 times. And the first time I watched that, obviously wasn't, it was new to me. But I listening to it the second time, that shit got on my nerves because she was literally like, "Let's sit and talk." Like Aja was the one that's like, "Can we talk? Can we all sit and talk?" The kind of thing. And yeah, so off BB, not off Aja and Trixie go, and then BB and Shangela go. BB and Shangela have a conversation about her staying there and da-da-da. And then BB and Aja have a conversation, and it's BB like complimenting her and trying to lift her up and all this stuff. And I'm sitting here like, it's really?
But here's the thing. I'm gonna call out. I don't agree, David, on the word conversation.
Oh,
he had something to say. Aja didn't get to say shit. And
True.
that annoyed the fuck out of me. When I watched it live, I was like, oh, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, fuck you,
They
BB.
weren't conversing. It was
I
a
was
monologue.
not happy about that moment. And I get that maybe Aja got a moment to talk once BB shut her hole, and we just didn't get to see that part.
Yeah.
So from what I saw, BB was just running her mouth, and Aja got no chance. And Aja seemed frustrated by it, and I was like, I would be too. Like,
I don't think Aja was frustrated by it. I think she knew, and that's why she said edited, whatever, her mentality about everything, just her mood changed. And that is because she pretty much knew BB's sending me home.
mm-hmm.
Like if BB wins, BB's sending me home. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, because you can tell by BB's talk that she is trying to basically put a balm on her feelings at this moment to make her feel better about the fact that she's in the bottom and that she's about to go home. Like there's no like no covering that shit up. That was very much a I am telling you all of this now and giving you all these compliments and praise because I know for a fact that I am sending you home. Like she and her little speech at the end when she eliminated her was bullshit to me. I'm just like, yeah,
and that's why I'm even more like hair on fire if the rumor thing is true, because that's when I'm like, right, whatever. What the fuck ever. Anyways. Well, Damon, your snaps and eye rolls.
Sure. For me, I as we kind of talked about, Trixie has arrived, and I actually wrote that down. I loved her look. I loved her can. I loved that she was able to put something together, and I love the fact that what she put together was also very much like her. It was pink. It was a very much a disco Barbie. It worked with the theme. It worked really well. I like that Michelle kind of complimented her that it wasn't like a whole lot, but it was her. You know, camel toe and all, as she said. I really, really honestly loved that look. I think it was very, like I said, very much Trixie. And it was, for me, the point that I knew she was going to do really well, if not win this challenge. And she did. So snaps to Trixie for redeeming herself from last week's episode where she kind of so those are my snaps. My eye rolls are something I have said time and time again on this show. Know how to fucking sew. I am not even officially, I've been over this shit. This is over at like .com.org bullshit. This is like broadcasted to the world. Like, no, I'm not saying yes, it's All Stars and you should expect the challenge. I get that it's All Stars, but you kind of get an idea, obviously, beforehand about what you're going to probably be doing. You probably know at some point you're going to be making something. So know how to sew. I get maybe you took a couple of classes for a couple of months, but it didn't show. Shangela. BB, thanks. You should be really fucking lucky that Aja kind of was feeling very on top of the world and thinking she nailed this challenge because she was willing to help everyone else because she knew, oh, it's okay, I'm going to win. So she's going to help you make that gown or whatever that you ended up winning with.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. Aja helped. No, Aja helped BB sew her gown.
Right.
And then didn't thank her for it on stage.
Yeah.
That pissed me off. When the judges praised BB for the look and then she didn't say anything that Aja helped. That pissed me off.
All I have to say is Lord help BB, because I'm pretty sure Aja's followers are not going to be nice about this.
Mm-hmm. And I know it was, she pretty much maybe sewed probably a leotard, essentially. And then BB maybe cut those strips of mylar or whatever fabric together and put it, and looked like she glued it on there. Okay, that's fine. That's all well and good. That's great, you know. But when they ask you, so did you make this? You're like, yes, I made it. No, bitch, you didn't make it. You made some of it. You didn't make all of it. You didn't make it all by yourself. So maybe it's a half truth, but it's still a lie. So that's like that, and again, and that's the other one. And I love Ben to death. And we know that when the first time she was on the show, she did that really awesome gown that she apparently put together herself with hot glue and whatever. And I liked her look overall, but again, it was pretty basic and simple to put together, but it worked for the challenge. I thought. I hate that they read her for it, because it was the challenge. It was a very 70s look, that orange color and that pattern kind of choker and cuffs and on the shoes and everything else. It was very much a 70s looking thing, and she put the stole on, and it worked. But again, this is All Stars 3. There's been like 9 seasons before this, 2 All Stars before this. The big thing, you need to know how to fucking sew. You need to know how to fucking sew to be on a show, no matter what.
Right.
Like, I don't care if you've already been on a show before, you should know how to sew.
Yeah.
So that's my biggest eye roll overall.
So for my snaps and eye rolls, I give snaps to Aja because I still think that her runway was the one that like blew me away. I can hear the criticism that it didn't necessarily make Studio 54 sense and blah 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 and all that. I thought everybody did pretty well, except for Shangela. In terms of the runway piece, I liked what Bendela did. I see how the criticism is that it's not Studio 54. It's very 70s. It's very like McCall's macrame, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, so that remains to be said. And then my eye rolls are simply for Shangela's runway. It was almost unforgivable in my opinion. It was bad, so bad. Just
I think if you were to put everyone's runways like in order from first to last, I really do think I agree with you. I think Aja's was number one. It looked different. It looked very 70s. It looked very Studio 54 to me. It was very unique and great and special.
I think Aja would have gotten a little further if she had gone with a bob, like a Dorothy Hamill kind of look. Maybe. As opposed to that band and the bump and the, I think Aja's problem was she was trying to blend too many things.
Yeah.
Maybe.
To make a look. And that's where the judges were just like, and I think they were kind of hungry for blood, and then they just went for the kill on the criticism. I was like, whatever. No.
Yeah.
I ain't got time for that. So yeah, those were my snaps and eye rolls. Are we ready to move into closing thoughts?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe.
Gentlemen, start your engines, and may the best woman win.
All right, our final impressions or any extra thoughts that you might have. Chasta, what are your closing thoughts?
So mine is more about how Aja got read about not knowing who some of the people were that she was referencing. Particularly the one where she said somebody's name and pronounced it incorrectly.
Yeah.
And that irritated me because I'm like, who the fuck cares? She knows who the person is. Shouldn't that be more important than how she pronounced it? Somebody, Chi-Chi didn't spell Maya Angelou correct, although she did get read for it, but still.
Yeah, I kind of feel like there's a definite ageism thing that's going on right now. And I don't know if Rue and Michelle and them are catching that, or if they're going to catch hell for it. Like, I get that they feel you should know your history, you should know your pop culture history, you should know your drag history, but there's a certain point where I'm like, really? Like, so you're going to read Aja about this design couture thing, yet she fucking did Crystal LaBeija for Snatch Game.
Exactly.
Really?
How many of the other queens knew who Crystal LaBeija was, other than I'll tell you right now, I don't know who Crystal LaBeija is. I know the name LaBeija,
right?
And I just assume, okay, it's probably somebody from the ballroom scene.
Right. And so, like, you know, she does that character, and I'm like, wow, I don't know who this character is, but she's definitely a character. And then I watched like an 8-minute snippet of a documentary, I guess, that was made where some of those lines come from, where she's going off about how Susan or whatever the fuck her name is won, and she shouldn't have won, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, wow, I definitely see where Aja got a lot of this from. I get it, girl. Right. Snaps to you for that. So,
and how many of the other queens this season would have known who that was?
Right.
Other than the name.
Yeah.
So it's to me, I think it's very unfair when people of a certain age, and this irritates me too, like 2-3 years ago. Do you remember when Missy Elliott was in the Super Bowl? And then there were a whole bunch of memes going out about kids tweeting, who is Missy Elliott? And I'm like, why the fuck would people need to know who Missy Elliott was? She was popular 15 years ago. Not 5 years ago, 15. So it's unreasonable to think that a 15-year-old would know who that is.
Yeah.
And same thing. I'm sure, I have no doubt that Aja has at least heard of Andy Warhol, probably even seen some of his artwork at some point in her life. But to know every little detail about it, or even Studio 54, sure, she's probably heard of it through different channels of her friends, possibly mentioning it. But to understand what that meant to somebody who was brought up with that, no, you can't. It's impossible to do. She wasn't around then. It's not pop culture now. It was pop culture then. It's unreasonable to think that younger generations will know and be able to have not empathy, but have that same type of experience and passion for something like that.
Yeah.
I think it's very dangerous for Rue and Michelle, and I'm putting them together as a team, to kind of take on this perspective of it's a teachable moment. Like, if you're going to be gay and you're going to be a drag queen and you're going to be on Drag Race, like, you best step your knowledge up about like all this stuff before you even step on or something. Like, that's the feeling I got from that, was like, I felt in a way it was coming across like it was unforgivable. And I was like, really? Really? Because you mean to tell me when you were in the 70s and in the early 80s, when you were young, like, you knew everything generationally about up and coming from before you completely knew everything about the 50s and the 60s. Like, it really kind of started to sit wrong with me. I was like, I get that you feel it's important, but in a way I felt like Aja was being as a scarecrow, like, kind of warning signal or something.
It kind of goes into my clothing thoughts, so I kind of go into that too. So my clothing thoughts is mentioning history and youth, and it's very much this whole, like, as we're talking about this whole idea behind you know, now the kids nowadays, as I poke them with a stick and tell them get off my lawn, It's this whole like they can literally pick up a phone and get the information they need instantly. They don't necessarily, I'm not saying they don't really retain the knowledge the way that we older elders kind of do. Yes, you need to know your history. And yes, you need to understand and recognize the history of things that are gone through. But sometimes they don't have to. I know that sounds like terrible, but I mean, to me, it means they can look it up. They can get on a phone and type it really quickly and figure out what it is, pretty quickly. The internet is vast and big, and they can find anything pretty relatively quickly. And not saying that's a good or bad thing, but to clock a 20-something-year-old drag queen for not knowing some of the things, or like Chester said, for saying a name wrong. Maybe the only time she's ever seen the name is on a phone or in a Wikipedia thing, and they've never had to say it. No one has said it to them, so they may not recognize how to say it. So, like, I get knowing history, and I totally understand and respect that, and I agree with it to a point. But there also comes a point where you have to recognize that they're learning things in a different way that we are, or we did, and the people before us learned things. And that's, I think, important when you think about, like, or you chastise people for this whole, like, not knowing their history.
Right. Sometimes
they don't know it because they've not had a reason to. And I know that sounds bad, but a lot of people live in the now. They don't know a whole lot. They try to learn some of it, but they can't know everything.
Right.
So that's my kind of like closing thought overall with it, is that there's this whole, like, I think I get that there's a bit of an ageism thing going on with this whole, like, Michelle and Rue kind of knocking, and they were really knocking on Aja on a lot of the things, because she didn't, and that's in like the extra clip, and on the runway, for stuff she may not have necessarily known for sure.
Yeah.
So
my closing thought is just one simple question: who is in the mystery trio?
Ooh.
So we get to the end of the episode, and finally we're getting around to dealing with this Handmaiden's Tale bullshit thing that's been playing out all season long. So Rue does this mysterious, like, you can come out now, which I thought was kind of funny, because I was like, oh, girl, that's very Wizard of Oz. Like, come out, wherever you are. So it's Chad in Alaska, and they're quoting lines, under his eye. I loved how Alaska did her. Yeah. And then, she says, were you able to capture or something like that? And they said that they got some of them or something like that. And then
we think you'll be pleased.
Right. And then 3 of the 5 eliminated queens come out on stage dressed in the red garb with the white hat thing, face down, so you can't see who they are. In the entourage group for Drag Race, for COL, we had a discussion. I had paid attention and noticed that the last 2 queens appear to be murdered, not necessarily kidnapped. At least that's the sound effects. But as Smashy was pointing out, one of the 3 queens that was on stage is obviously Aja, because the bitch got ink all over her. And those arms that were revealed, like, I did a couple freeze frame stops. I was like, yep, that one's Aja, like, no doubt about it. And I agree with Smashy that the only person of color who's been eliminated appears to be Chi-Chi. She appears to be one of the 3, which basically leaves us with Morgan or Milk, or who am I forgetting? Thorgy as the Caucasian girl. No offense. But I'm like, I don't know. Like, and then Chester, was it you that posed the theory about that all 5 actually might be back?
Well, yes, sort of. The only reason why I was thinking that is because the next challenge is them doing a musical number together. The 5 of them doing their normal we're going to put together a production. And I have a feeling, because there's 5 left and they're all doing this production together, that it's going to be 5 versus 5 on the next episode. And we already know that Rue has said, I decided to bring some queens into the challenge.
Yeah.
And, you know, all the
Another
girls
group.
are...
Yeah, another group.
Yeah, another
they're all
group.
looking at the door.
And all the girls are, you know, freaking out.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a feeling that it's going to be a girl group against girl group production. Now, when it comes to the 5 that are chosen, this is where I don't know. I have 2 thoughts about it. It's going to be the 5 eliminated queens, or because, you know, you guys have pointed out who those 3 are that are standing with Chad and Alaska. Maybe it's those 3 with Chad and Alaska.
Mm.
Oh, that's some shady shit.
Uh-huh.
I had not considered Chad and
Oh.
Alaska coming back
Oh shit.
as part of the group of 5 because
That would be
alright then.
something.
The only reason why I thought about that being Chad and Alaska is because I saw the 2, you know, Chad and Alaska standing on stage, and Rue asking, you know, the question of, you know, did you capture any of them? And they're like, yeah, we think you'll be pleased. And you see the 3, and immediately I was like, oh wow, there's only 3 of them. What's going on?
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden, that's when my wheels started turning. Well, maybe it's just those 3 with Chad and Alaska. If you remember on All Stars 2, they had to be paired up with the people that eliminated them. No.
No, they paired each other up.
Oh, right, because Alaska and Alyssa got paired up, and I don't remember who Tatiana got paired up with. Was it Detox? Yes. Yeah, because they did the assholes were out, literally. And remember that the winner of the challenge, that queen got to come back, and that's when Alyssa and Tatiana killed it, and they both got to come back.
Yep.
So this is where I'm thinking that maybe with Chad and Alaska being on a team, that means that the top 5 currently needs to do that much better in order to stake their claim as being top 5.
Huh. It's very interesting. That's an interesting concept. I'm curious. I was very like, if okay, I'll put it like this. If they're doing that or doing something along those lines where they're not bringing all 5 girls back and they only bring 3, okay, that's cool. I get that. That makes sense to me because they only brought 3 on stage. If they're bringing all 5 back and this is just sort of a ploy to kind of lure us into a false sense of like something else is going on, I'm going to be a little pissed because to me, like, I get that you want to twist things up because everyone kind of knows the show's a little predictable in a sense. You knew something was going on because the 5 girls were all like, you know, the Handmaid's thing was always with all the 5 girls. So you knew something was going on. So to me, it'd be like, okay, well, maybe they offered for the girls to come back and maybe not all of them decided to come back. They're like, I'm good. I'm done.
I wondered
I'm
about
fine.
it. I wondered
Yeah.
if they offered all 5 of them the opportunity, like they have the option to try to come back, and I wonder if some of them said no. That's the part where I wonder if some of them were just like, no, I'm done. Like if I'm done, I'm done. I'm not going to come back. I mean, and my understanding is that you get paid for every episode that you're on. So I could see where some queens would be like, even though I may not have a chance of coming back and actually winning, like, bitch, I'll take that coin for one more episode or whatever, you know. I don't
exposure. Well, I do have a thought about that too. I know that on Top Chef, and I don't remember exactly when they started doing this, but on Top Chef, when you get eliminated, you basically get put in holding.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next person gets eliminated, and you have to go head to head with that
Mm-hmm.
person, and whoever wins stays.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not on the show. We don't actually
Yeah.
get to see it. It's a completely online type of battle. You've got to go to
Yeah.
like Food Network to watch these one-on-one battles. But my point is at the end of the, when they finally reveal like the top 3, that last person who has gone head to head and beat everybody else, they come back into the show at the very end, and they can try and get back into the top
Whatever.
4 or
Yeah.
the top 3. And that's kind of what I'm wondering that happened now is, did Morgan and who was the second one?
Dorji.
Did Morgan and Thorgy possibly go up in a lip sync battle against Alaska and Chad? And they lost?
Huh. It's interesting. I don't know. I'm curious to see what they're doing, what they're going to do with it. I'm very curious to see what they do with it. I'm very curious to see, like I said, if it's going to be just 3 of them, if it's going to be all 5 of them, if it's going to be them and Chad, Michael, or not, yeah, Chad and Alaska, if it's going to be something else all entirely. We don't know.
Mhm.
I would have liked it personally if they kept it a little bit, instead of just Chad and Alaska, for example, being the main like handmaidens, if they brought some other like all-star queens back, like Raven and Jujubee and something like that, and kind of had them keep doing the different handmaids, and then at the end, like where we are now, you don't know who's going to be on stage. I would have liked it if they had just shown, not had the girls walk on stage, but just shown like in the back, the girls like standing there with the hoods, no arms. I would have liked that better, but just enough light to see like the hoods and their heads down, and the red capes on their shoulders. So you don't necessarily know who's coming back. Looking at it, it's very obvious who's coming back in a, process of elimination.
Right.
Unless
and that's where I wonder if they intentionally did that or if they fucked up.
Yeah.
Like when they made the outfits, if they didn't realize, oh, the front of the arms are going to be showing, it's going to give away who some of these individuals are. But
I could have thrown some white gloves on them,
well,
like
that's true.
opera gloves.
So
anyway,
it might be an
that's
intentional misdirect. I don't know.
Who knows? I would love it if it were like I know it sounds bad, but I would love it if it were a complete and total like fuckery where it's not the eliminated 5 queens. It's a whole other group of drag queens that are doing the lip sync against the top 5. And if those queens win and he beat the challenge, the top 5 are gone and the other 5 come back.
I don't think that would happen.
I
but
doubt that would happen. But that would be some fucking awesome like shit. That would turn the whole fucking contest on its head.
Well, yeah, that it would. I don't know.
Anyway, I think I'm overthinking it and I just want to have fun with it and we'll see what happens on Thursday.
Yeah, I agree. I'm excited for a couple nights from now to see how it plays out and whether or not it's as dramatic as they're hyping it to be. I will say this. I am a little irritated right now with VH1 and WoW Presents, mostly VH1. They are buzzing the fuck out of season 10, like almost stomping over top of All-Star season 3. And I'm like, okay, because there's a rumor that the end of this season 3 of All-Stars might really kind of piss some people off. So you're not helping your cause if that's true, that you're trying to cover up for whatever blowout there may be by basically making season 10 back to back. Cause now I'm like, yeah, but like you seem to be putting a hell of a lot of focus on all the contestants and who they are and giving them lots of camera time. And like, you know, I'm just like, okay, can I finish one season before I get invested in the next one? Now, to be fair, I haven't paid attention. I don't know whether or not All-Star Season 3, what its viewership ratings have been. So that might be a piece of the puzzle that we're unfamiliar with is if Season 3 All-Stars is not doing as well as previous seasons of Drag Race, which the most recent ones have all been better, better, better. If this isn't as good as, say, 9 was, then that might be the reason why they're like, all right, let's just get the shit over with and move on to 10. Which is unfair to the queens that actually competed. So,
yeah,
I don't know. But that being the case, it's time to close the show. If you want to get in touch with us, there's many ways to do it. It's quite simple. You can go to cubsoutloud.com. You can also send us an email at Gmail. It's simply cubsoutloud, all one word. You can also give us a ring ding and you can leave us a voicemail message at 361 COL Talk. That's 361-265-8255. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Google Plus, pretty much any social media, Instagram, all that stuff. Just type in Cubs Out Loud. Telegram is the chat solution that we are working with, and I'm actually quite enjoying it. We have 2 different groups on there. The most important group, obviously, is the COL Drag Race group. It's a small group of us, but we're doing this very interesting thing where we all watch the show and we're all trying to be very polite and make sure that everybody in the group has already seen the show and we don't spoil anything. So it's kind of driving all of us to see it within about, I think, 48 hours or so before we start spilling tea and talking about the show. So I'm proud of us for doing that. If you want to join that group, you can go onto Telegram. The best way to do it is to type in this web address. It's tinyurl.com/telegram-COLDR. And that's the way you'll find that group. Of course, bearunderground.net happens to be the unofficial or the official, whichever way you want to say it, Bear social media website that we have. You can go to iTunes. You can rate us. Obviously, we would like 5 stars. We love 5 stars. You can also go to Stitcher Radio. You can give us a thumbs up over there. And if you want to find me anywhere on the web, you can find me as GareBear73. That's Tumblr, bearunderground.net, Growler. You know, that whole jazz. Damon, what if they want to find you or get in touch?
If you want to find me, you can find me pretty much as Theater Cup 79 on like Bear Underground, Tumblr, Growler, etc., Facebook. Or you can find me as pup_Umbra on Twitter.
You can find me on Tumblr or Twitter under the name The Pup Up There, or various bear dating sites across the net under the name Pup Shutter or Cupcake76.
That said, it's the end of the show. So, of course, just like we do, like they do on Drag Race All-Star Season 3, we're going to exit to Kitty Girl.
Hey, kitty girl, it's your world. When you walk the street, step into coffee. Hey, kitty girl, get the twirl. In the disco heat, you're the bug, your body like a tree. Hey, kitty, kitty, hey, kitty, kitty, hey, kitty, kitty, yeah, oh.
Gay.
Bye, everybody.